was in the Air Force for 4 years. Primarily, I thought it was an opportunity to broaden my education, to try something in more of a mechanical field and give me more options as far as developing some skills. In my case, I was interested in aircraft mechanics. I did mainly inspections, and I inspected everything from elaborate ladders. They called NAGE, non-powered aerospace ground equipment. They have these big names for fancy ladders, all the way to inspecting jet aircraft engines.
I served in the Air Force from 1987 to 1990. I went reserves after that for 3 years, and I served both at George Air Force Base, which was in California, and then also at McChord Air Force Base here in Washington for my reserve time. What did I do? I was a jet engine mechanic, and I worked on old F-4 engines that were from Vietnam era, and I worked on the last Air Force base in California that had the Wild Weasels. So I worked on J-79 engines on these F-4s, so that's really what I did.
I served for 7 years in the United States Navy. I joined in June of 1989 and was discharged August of 1990. In the Navy, I was a storekeeper, which means that I took care of the logistics support. Our ship was like a Target or a Fred Meyer of the 7 seas. We fed a lot of people and provided them spare parts. So I took care of a storeroom or a series of storerooms, and we made sure that they had, food, spare parts, supplies, medical.
To be a veteran, quite often I don't think of myself as one. Even though I am a veteran, I was in the military, I didn't serve in combat. So typically I think of a veteran as someone who served in combat. But I think it's true that a veteran is somebody who was willing to serve and ultimately perhaps sacrifice their life in defense of the nation.
Serving my country, really what it meant was the opportunity to serve. And coming out of high school, I thought that was a good path for me at the time. I wasn't ready for college and didn't know what I wanted to do, so I thought that would be a good opportunity. The other thing that was important to me was my family, kind of honoring my family and the tradition of the service, because both my grandfathers were in World War II. My dad also served in the Army during the Vietnam War, so that was really important to me, was the kind of honoring my family and serving that.
For me, being a veteran means that I've had the opportunity to serve my country, and I've had some really great stories and chances to meet a lot of people and work in really diverse places, and serve humanity in a way that's different than one might have if they stayed home or didn't join the service. Before I went in, it felt more glorious. My mom told me about my grandfather, who was in the Brazilian military, and my grandfather, my step-grandfather, was in the U.S. military, and he served in the Navy during World War II. And he would tell me stories about the submarine life that he lived during World War II, the kind of action that he was involved in. And so it felt very glorious, all the movies. And then when I joined, I felt like there were two things that was going to happen. One, I was going to learn about myself, who I was, the kind of things I could do. I was going to be challenged by the work, by the physical, the mental, the emotional piece. But I started to realize that it was a very important job. It was more than just the glory. It was about making a difference.
I learned what it takes to excel set goals and achievement, and how to compete, quite frankly, against others. In the military, quite often you're competing with others for higher rank. So that idea of competition through cooperation, I think is one of the main life lessons I think I learned.
I learned that there are some times in life you make choices, and those choices have to be aligned, connected with who you are and what you believe. And I also learned that it's important to build powerful, or at least worthwhile relationships so you can get the job done in a way that is meaningful. And the third thing I learned is that sacrifice is real. That the things that we do and cherish, sometimes you just have to prioritize what's important in your life. Sometimes you can't control where you are, what you are, and what you do, and so you do have to sacrifice a lot to be able to achieve certain goals. And those things are real for everyone, not just for me, but for the people that I work with, and for the combatants, the people that I'm supposedly fighting against. And there is honor and respect to be shared on both sides. And sometimes when you're in the middle of the battle, you forget that. And I think that's an important lesson for me that I learned.
I tend to think of myself being a veteran as really just partly fulfilling a commitment that this country has provided me with a lot of opportunities and protections, and it's an opportunity to give that back. The military itself provided some opportunities in education and training, did provide a sense of purpose. I hate to think of veterans as all being the same thing. There is a lot of diversity in the reasons why they serve and what they do and how well they carry out that service.
Joining the military is a great experience for people who want to build a sense of discipline, a sense of value, and a sense of, if they're a little confused about what they believe and what they want, it really starts to build your core values, and helps you solidify who you are. And then while you're in the military, you build relationships with people who are different from you and have a lot to offer you, and then you walk away with that, with important lessons about life and about how you can get along with different people from different places.